Hey guys, Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Double Shot of Steelers presented by FanDuel. It's great to have you here. It's the eve of the Steelers meeting up with the Bengals again in Cincinnati. And say what you want about the way those guys are going, and it's not good. There's something especially insane about the meetings between those two teams. Especially and doubly so, triply so, when it's out there for some reason. So I'm still expecting there to be a game. I'm still expecting there to be, some sort of competitive something between them. What I am also expecting, and I'm using that word to its precise meaning here, as in, I'm not making a prediction. I'm not saying this will happen. But my expectation of where the Steelers are right now as a football team is that they're going to go out there, they're going to take care of business. They're going to go out there and they're going to get not only their W, but they're going to make sure that they don't regress in other areas. Regress in all of the areas that they've shown progress over these past two games. That's important. Hear me out. If I say to you that the Browns are a bad team, the most common counter to that, for anybody who cares to counter it at this point, is that, they beat the Packers. If I say to you that this team or that team is a great team, a Super Bowl team, they're fantastic, you can come back with, they lost to so-and-so back in week 2. Or didn't they beat those guys or lose to those guys? Meanwhile, what we're describing here is just life in the NFL. To a degree. You really don't need to be losing a game in which the other team has lost, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL. And I really feel that strongly about Joe Burrow. I've been on the record saying that for quite some time now. They also don't have Trey Hendrickson, their best defensive player. They also don't have Mike Gesicki, who was placed on IR today, their tight end out of Penn State. They also didn't have a defense before Hendrickson went down. They had arguably the worst or close to the worst, now that Dallas is in the running, defense anywhere at all. And on top of that, I have a strong sense that the game tomorrow night in Cincinnati won't be the way they've been in recent years, which is a pretty good makeup of Bengals fans. I think you're going to see the first of your Pittsburgh to Ohio takeovers coming up tomorrow. It's not a scenario that does anything for the home team. So what you need to do with them, the Bengals, is never let them off the mat. They're starting this game on the mat. And the only way that I can see them getting off of it is either if you do something really dumb on offense, like an interception or whatever, or if you allow Joe Flacco to be Flacco from 10, 15 years ago. And Flacco, of course, can do the Flacco as well as anybody. In fact, he might be the best at the Flacco. You know what that is from his days in Baltimore. That's just heaving it up deep and playing for the DPI, playing for the flag. He's brilliant at it. And he's got not one, but two otherworldly targets with which to do this. And you have, from the Steelers' perspective, your cornerbacks, your 3 coverage people are all banged up to varying degrees. You know about Jalen Ramsey's hamstring. Darius Slay has the shoulder. I don't care what's going on in the official injury reports. These are things that you saw with your own eyes Sunday in the games. And Joey Porter's just freshly back. Their challenge is going to be not just preventing those guys from making plays, but preventing them from having flags thrown on them. If that happens, if the Steelers kick this opponent while they're down, which is the beginning of the game. Kickoff is when they're down. You got to go at them. You got to go at them. You got to take care of business. You got to blow them out. I never say that. I'm sorry. You've got to put up a lot of points on these guys. That defense is unbelievable. We're going to talk about that some more in a split second here when Chris Halleck joins us.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Hey, everybody, it's Chris Halleck. What's going on, Chris?
What is going on? I really did not intend to do the dramatic turn into the camera there like that.
I kind of liked it.
But I was
it almost looked like it was rehearsed.
I was literally trying to update some things in our Steelers feed on our app. So Trey Hendrickson for the Bengals is officially questionable. He also did not practice in Cincinnati yesterday. So,
and that's one of those where if he plays, he's not going to be himself. There's no chance of that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
The Steelers versus Bengals is almost here, and it's time to check out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on the FanDuel Sportsbook, not just for Thursday Night Football, but for the entire weekend. If you think that the Steelers are going to stomp the Bengals, if you think they're going to exceed the line, which yesterday was 5.5. Still is. Lock in your bets today. Whatever your game, the FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials so that you can join in on all of the action. It's kind of tough to get elaborate with the details on this stuff, on this matchup. I just gave it a shot with, Flacco is going to put deep balls up to those two guys, and they're going to be hoping for flags. You don't add Flacco and not have him do the Flacco.
Yeah, it's interesting because there are a couple of ways you can attack, obviously, and this is been the big bugaboo here in Pittsburgh has been, too many short passes, not enough deep throws. Well, that's kind of what it can be. They can either try to have a lot of quick hitters to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, or they can try to trust the offensive line a little bit and then try to put up some deep balls. Now, not every deep ball has to be where Flacco holds onto the ball for 2.5 to 3 seconds, but it still requires more time than just catch the snap and then throw. I'm almost more curious to see how the pass rush affects the Bengals passing attack. Because if the Steelers continue to impose their will up front and get after the quarterback the way that they have over the past, 3 games now. I mean, they sacked Dylan Gabriel 6 times.
Yeah.
They sacked Carson Wentz, I think, 5 or 6 times, and they were back there with Drake May quite a bit too. And Drake May's mobile. Like, he can move. And they got to him quite a bit. So I don't trust that Bengals offensive line, and Flacco can't move. So but it's still like I said, you don't have to hold on to the ball forever all the time to get that deep ball out.
Yeah, that's, Sergio here says that, hey, TK and Chris, the Steelers hit Dylan Gabriel 16 times. What would you be your over-under on Flacco tomorrow? I'm not doing predictions, but I will say that Flacco is not going to hold on to the ball like that.
No.
Flacco's he's not a dummy. He got to playing into his 40s by knowing how to make sure that he protects himself. And I'm sure that's going to be doubly true on a new team. Never mind a team that he knows for a fact doesn't have a very good offensive line.
Well, but Gabriel got rid of the ball pretty quickly. I mean, he was not holding on to the ball the average time to throw was pretty quick. I can look it up here in a second, but they were getting back there in a hurry. And if they can do that again, and with having TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig and Cameron Hayward and Derek Harmon, the way he's playing, and the linebackers occasionally blitzing, man, they're bringing all kinds of pressure right now. And if they can continue to do that, and they can continue to get after the quarterback in a hurry, that's, same way as, for the Steelers, it's Aaron Rodgers get rid of the ball quickly, that can help mitigate Myles Garrett. Well, you can help mitigate Jamar Chase and T. Higgins by getting to Flacco before he even gets a chance to get rid of the ball.
Yeah. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I think this is not even remotely a compelling matchup, and I don't think it should be one. I think the only thing that could keep it to being one is if the Steelers just happen to sputter or regress offensively. That's the main thing here. Swan says that the tight ends should be eating the Bengals alive. Well, you should do that every time you face them. That's the Zach Taylor defense. It's not equipped to stop the tight end. We've seen that. Everyone remembers, wow, who hasn't set up the tight end for massive success there? Kenny Pickett did it in Cincinnati. Russell Wilson did it against the Bengals. It doesn't matter who it is. You're going to be able to hit the tight ends. You're going to be able to pick up first downs. You're going to be able to move the football. I think the one thing that might keep the Steelers from putting up a lot of points is that they're not a natural big play team, with the exception of DK Metcalf, especially when you have Calvin Austin out, because then you lose that additional threat of somebody just being able to run past them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have it. You know what I'm saying, Chris? I'm not trying to revive WR2 as a debate here. I'm just saying, when you're playing with a bunch of bigs and a bunch of tight ends, you're going for 10, 20 yards max at a time.
Yeah, it's true. But I think, again, that's definitely by design. They want to play offense that way. They want to be an offense that imposes their will on the defense. They want to punch them in the mouth, and they want to punch them in the mouth again, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. Like, that's just the way that they want to play offense. They just want to be a team on the offensive side, defensive side. They want to be a team that by the time that game is over, you're like, man, I am going to be hurting tomorrow. Like that. That's what they want to play. By the way, Dylan Gabriel had the 6th fastest time to throw in week 6.
Great.
That's
pretty good news. I also remember a couple of times where he tried to run out of trouble, and there he had nowhere to go. But
right.
If you think about the sacks, they occurred very quickly. You think about Nick Herbig getting back there. You think about both of Jalen Ramsey's. They happened like this. Look, go get him. I don't think you're going to surprise Flacco with stuff. I don't think you're going to have the exotic blitzes be as effective as they were against Gabriel, dropping 93 and 96 into coverage and then sending Ramsey up. He's going to be able to read stuff. Let me rephrase that, at an elite level. Elite. That's Flacco. There's sufficient respect to be had there for that. Marquis asks, does this team genuinely like each other? Good question. They seem more like a team and not just individual parts as compared to other years. I'll get this started, Chris. I always like when a team is comfortable enough with each other that they can make fun of each other.
Yeah.
That they can poke vocally. And when you have a scene like the one on Tuesday where Aaron Rodgers begins his press conference and Cam Hayward, walks by and says it's the icy hot bowl. He's making fun of, he's an old guy making fun of an older guy for going into a matchup against another older guy. And it's good stuff. You think about how comfortable Rodgers has made everybody on the team. And I'm talking about backup offensive linemen you've never heard of, who are so comfortable with him that they get involved in chats with him and jokes and stuff. To me, that's a team that gets along, Chris.
Oh, yeah. And also Cam Hayward was part of a group of Steelers, a pretty significant group of Steelers that gave Deshawn Elliott a jersey that had his number 25 on it, but on the back said Deli. like DELI, and that is Cam Hayward's unofficial nickname for Deshaun Elliott. And Deshaun does not like it at all. He hates being called it. And literally, so it was a jersey that was being passed around, and Cam had a lot of players sign the jersey, like on the numbers.
God.
And then he had it folded up where it was just the 25 showing, and then went to Deshaun and had him sign it. And he's like, yeah, he probably just told him something like, hey, this is for so-and-so, whatever. And so Deshaun
was.
And then Deshaun signed it, and then Cam unfolded it and showed him what it was. And Deshaun just gives him this big, gigantic middle finger. And then he looks to the right and sees somebody else recording from behind a corner. And then he gives a big middle finger to that guy too. These guys are having fun with each other, man. It's definitely probably been the most fun I've seen a team have in my time on the beat. That's for sure.
Yeah. What happens? I say this all the time. People talk about intangibles like back in training camp and so forth. And I always say that it's the intangibles that follow the tangibles. It's not the other way around. It sounds good to think that the intangibles lead to success. They don't. They feed off success. The team grows from success. They become more accountable. They become more, remember late last season when there was all this stuff about communication and who was the one person who wasn't listening. And I reported to everybody that it was Cam Sutton. They never mentioned his name.
Yeah.
There's nothing remotely of the kind in this environment. If somebody is now not where they're supposed to be, or the communication is bad, or let's just say that even maybe Minkah Fitzpatrick played some sort of small role in all that, you contrast that with what Patrick Queen was doing late in this game with a 14-point lead, screaming at one of his teammates to the right that he was like 3 feet off where he was supposed to be, and PQ wasn't having it. And he's jumping up and down and screaming in that dude's direction until the guy got it right. That comes with that camaraderie, that accountability does. Now you're more comfortable saying something to somebody that you're working with. You know, you're more comfortable saying, hey, dude, you screwed up here. This isn't good, what you just did. That has been needed in a lot of different rooms in this team for a while. I believe that it's there defensively. I believe that it's been there from day one this season as it relates specifically to the main problem area, and that's the offensive line. You have a group of guys right now that's not afraid to talk to each other, whether it's a rookie talking to a veteran or in the other direction. You have an offensive line that's right now. You know what's funny? This came up in a live question session that I had with readers on the app yesterday. Who's the leader of the offensive line? The easy answer to that is Isaac Seumalo, because he's the oldest guy. I don't know that I don't think he's that. Isaac's so quiet, and Isaac stays so quiet until, you start getting around playoffs. I remember a couple of years ago, he was really striking it that he stood up in front of the room, E.F. Hutton-like, giving this big speech. But for the most part, day in and day out, your guys who are leading that group are the likes of Mason McCormick. Spencer Anderson is another one. Okay, Zach Frazier's not that guy. He's a football player. He puts his head down and he plays. That's not to say that he's not a leader. He leads in his own way. But when you're talking about those guys, those are the ones who are making this happen. And they're the ones that make sure that all the doors are cracked open, that everybody's talking to each other. That's what this line needs. That's what this team needs. And I think that's been the real benefit of this they like each other thing.
Yeah, well, I think also this is a team that's not only willing to hold other team some players are not only willing to hold the other players accountable, but they're willing to take criticism. They don't get offended by it, and that's not as easy nowadays. I'm not going to sit here and try to talk about generations and the way they've been raised or anything like that. That's a discussion for a different time, but it's pretty clear that players nowadays behave and act differently than they did 20 years ago or 40 years ago. And so it's refreshing to see that it does appear to be like, it doesn't seem like this one guy gets scolded for one thing and he's just going to go off and sit in a corner and just be all pouty and offended about it. Like, no, that they take the criticism because they know that the person giving the criticism isn't doing it to attack them. They're doing it because they want the team to be better. And like a great example is that like Patrick Queen screaming his head off. I believe it was at James Pierre. You know, it's.
I wasn't gonna say his name. Here comes Chris. It was James Pierre. Everybody.
Well, I mean, I remember the play. It happened on the field. It's not like this is something that happened in the locker room.
I know.
I mean, but
trying to give James,
But I mean,
it was 3 feet. That was the point. He wasn't making some grand mistake. By the way, James not only played a good game when he was out there, but James has been really solid coming in relief. Yeah,
he has. And I mean, he had a pass breakup late in that game.
He did.
It's not so to say that he had a moment in which he was out of position and was being yelled at for it. It doesn't take anything away from the fact that he also did good things.
Referenced it twice. Here we have James Pierre on the line, everybody. You guys think I stink? Justin Gall says, let's utilize man coverage. Heavy pressure up the middle. Use the edge rushers for contain. You can't give Flacco a pocket to step up into. Yeah, but the edge rushers for contain. You don't need to contain Flacco. He's not going anywhere.
Here's the problem with that. If you utilize nothing but man coverage or a lot of man coverage and you use that heavy pressure up the middle,
you're begging.
I'm just saying what's behind that pressure?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing. And so if your corners get beat to the inside, that's a problem. That's what happened in the Seattle game. Like they kept bringing pressure from up the middle and kept trying to play man coverage and kept getting beat over the middle. Like you gotta be mindful of it. That's a lot of the time why when you see blitzes, you see zone coverage behind it. I won't say all the time because usually a blitz comes with man coverage, but in the Steelers system, going all the way back to Dick LeBeau and the things they still kind of do from it, that's why you kind of see that fire zone type stuff.
And Justin dropped $5 on the program, which is always appreciated, never taken for granted. Matthew says, who do you guys think will replace Deshawn Elliott if he doesn't play? I can tell you that I talked to Deshawn, and he told me that there were a couple of places, his words, that he got banged up on Sunday. He did not expect it to be an issue. So we'll see how that ends up going. Sometimes
the issue with him is personal. It's not, it's a personal.
Oh, okay. This is something I don't know about then.
Yeah. So Elliott is officially questionable for the game. He is not traveling with the team today to Cincinnati, but he is still.
Oh, this is totally news to me. Okay.
But he is still questionable for the game. So yes, he's not traveling with the team, but that doesn't mean he's being ruled out. And the reason given by the team was not injury related / personal. So it is a personal matter he's attending to, whatever it is, and hopefully everything's okay. But
yeah, here's wishing the best for him. Yeah, now I feel stupid. I was referring to the two places in which he got banged up the other day. I thought we were talking about that since I remember reporting it then. So I think he's going to be. I think he'll be fine physically. That's the thing that I'll have. We'll see how the rest of it plays out tomorrow. And here's hoping the best for him here. Jay Shellerman says the Fire Queen, Ramsey, and Metcalf bring feels different. Haven't seen it in 10 years. You've seen Fire. We don't need to. I appreciate the $5. I just don't want to. We get, as people who follow the team on a regular basis, all of us, even the impartial reporters and all that stuff, we can get too low and too high with this stuff. I've seen some things over the last couple of days that were really over the top praising this team. Is Darnell Washington the best tight end in the NFL? No, he is not.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. No. But you know what I'm saying? There's just, and I get that. I'm not knocking it. The fan is short for fanatic.
No.
Okay. Which is what you are. You're about a given team, and you're going to be excited, and you're going to be sometimes irrationally excited. There have been lots of players who've brought lots of fire to this football team over the last 10 years. However, if I take just Queen and Ramsey, just for fun here, because if you think about Metcalf, it's not so much that he's a fire guy. He just has that ridiculous stride about him.
Well,
that gets you so, go ahead.
He's fiery on the field.
Oh, sure.
I mean, whenever
he's always been that way. He would get himself in trouble with it.
Oh yeah,
in Seattle. Yeah.
But even when Calvin got hurt in Dublin, apparently a Minnesota player was like saying something to him, and DK was the first guy to run over there and to start defending him. We're talking about like angrily defending him. Like DK is a menace on the field. He's very soft spoken and laid back in the locker room, and I'm talking to the media and everything like that. If anything, I want him to talk a little louder so they can come through better whenever I do the videos. But no, he really is one of those Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type guys where he's just this really soft spoken guy off the field, but on the field, no, he brings a lot of fire. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, listen, like when we think about 10 years ago or even 8 years ago, that was a 2017 team that was one injury away from pretty much going to the Super Bowl.
To the Super Bowl, yeah.
I mean,
if Lev doesn't get hurt in the first half, the Steelers put up the points that they needed to in Foxborough.
Oh, I'm thinking about the 17 season when Shazier got injured. I think that team was better than 16.
There's anyway, we're not doing that.
No, I know, but I'm saying
there was ample fire.
There was ample fire back then, yeah.
But what I do like is seeing the collective fire of this defense. I like to see the way they were hitting the other day against Cleveland. So when you're talking about fire, I would be throwing in Queen and Ramsey and Deshawn. Heck, everybody. No one's mentioning the game that Juan Thornhill had. And I don't know why. I mean, remember, he was the one who, whenever we were talking about the defense back at St. Vincent, he was like the 11th guy, and you never even mentioned him. You mentioned the other 10, but what about Thornhill? I don't know. He's just the guy who's going to be playing center field, remember, instead of Minka. So you won't even know his name. You know his name. Thornhill's a really good football player when he's healthy. He had one issue in Cleveland. One. And that's that he couldn't heal up a calf. And he is not the first nor the last person who will struggle to heal a calf. That's a weird muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And Sergio says, hey, DK, I know you were upset when the Steelers lost in Landon Roberts. How are you feeling now about our linebacker? I was upset about losing in Landon Roberts because I was upset about losing in Landon Roberts. I wasn't painting that as a reflection of the current linebacker. So how are you feeling now isn't a thing in this equation. I look at these as these linebackers, and I would say, all right, if you kept Landon, you would have Landon instead of Jack Sawyer. I don't know who's been super impressed with Sawyer. I hear internally, I hear a little bit of that both ways. I didn't think he had a particularly compelling performance on Sunday. So that was all about Landon. And it was all about uncertainty related to Cole Holcomb. Holcomb has, of course, proven that he's fine. It was uncertainty related to Peyton Wilson, who didn't really show his best form until Dublin. So, making a comment about one thing doesn't necessarily mean that it's a comment about something else.
Well, and then also we've seen Malik Harrison for one whole game and not even the entire game because he got injured in it. And we have not. I mean, that's really the replacement for Landon Roberts. And the one thing that Malik Harrison is very, very good at is the same thing that Landon Roberts is very, very good at, and that's running downhill and being a thumper. Now we know how good Landon can be at that stuff, and Malik Harrison's a pretty solid guy when it comes to that stuff. Now, everything else is a big question mark, but I'm curious to see how Malik Harrison will help out in this defense, especially as they continue to try to remain stout, not stouter, but stout against the run.
Yeah, and also healthy and fresh and everything else on a Thursday game. Forgotten Creed says that Sawyer is a national champion edge rusher from Ohio State. Give him a chance. That sounds really dramatic. National champion. It's the minor leagues. He hasn't proven a thing in the National Football League. He has won the AAA International League Championship. He's won the Calder Cup in the American Hockey League. It doesn't mean anything once you get to the NFL. Minor league football. Wandering Warrior says Peyton Wilson is only going to get better as he learns more. I know somebody who would agree with that, Chris. No, that's who he is. That's what he is. The conversations, and I hope you guys have noticed that I've gone to him after each of the last couple of games. I've shared with you the videos in our interviews. The introspection with which he hits almost immediately in these talks that we have is amazing to me. He'll just instantly start saying, yeah, but if I'm doing more of this and more of that and less of this and less of that, I'm going to be a better football player. I'm doing this now and I wasn't doing in week 1 or week 2. He has that about him. He really does. Almost that eager beaver student type vibe about him. You know what I mean? And he's been, listen, I was as rough on him after 3 games as anybody. I thought it was time for Cole Holcomb to be out there. I'd seen enough of missing tackles and tackling people from behind. Give him the credit. Give the coaches the credit, the positional coaches, the coordinators, the head coach. They had sent some very strong signals out of the South Side that week that he was going to lose his job to Cole Holcomb. And they said, you know what, kid? Go ahead. See what you can do against the Vikings. And he goes out there and he gets it done just by flying to the football, something he's done his whole life. Really, really good stuff. It's one of the cooler stories, individual stories of this season. I want to ask you something, Chris. We have a bunch of questions here, but when we talk about strength of schedule, and it's usually a summertime topic. But strength of schedule gets updated through various different criteria. It's not like there's a universal way to do it. And I saw something in the past week that suggested that the Steelers to date have faced the 29th ranked strength of schedule opponents, 29 out of 32. And there's a part of me that understands that. There's a part of me that also gets that if you're a team with a really good record, and the Steelers are, you're going to have a weaker strength of schedule on the other side because you will have beaten these teams. You know, right. You're responsible for some of those losses on that ledger. Okay. But I also think back about Seattle, and I think about how the Seahawks at the time were like, oh, how did this happen to you? The Seahawks and Sam Darnold, and this is so awful. And I remember thinking that they should have destroyed the Patriots in Foxborough.
Yeah, I didn't. I knew the Patriots have been on the ride.
I don't mean you specifically. I mean the collective majority we. Okay. Yeah. I didn't think the Steelers were in a position to blow anybody out at the way they were playing back then. And I thought they played, for the most part, pretty poorly in Foxborough and won. So as I look at these standings right now, and you want to make a strength of schedule argument, apologies for the aside. I really wanted to bring this up at some point on the show today. But as I look at the standings right now, I see that New England is 4-2. And I see that New England has a plus 30 point differential, which is tied with Buffalo for second best in the entire conference. Okay, that's pretty impressive. I'm sorry, I take that back. The third best, the Broncos are at plus 35. I look at Seattle. They're 4-2. They have a plus 49 points differential, tied for the very best in the NFC. These are good football teams. We're now 6 games. These are now good football teams. The Steelers lost, obviously, to the Seahawks. You know, it was hardly some sort of slaughter or whatever, but they lost. And they beat New England on the road. Patriots have won 3 in a row since then. I look at that, and then I look at who the Steelers have beaten, and I see, obviously, the Browns. The Jets are 0-6. That's nobody's fault. At the time that they played in New Jersey, I thought, and I really still think this is fair, independent of the Steelers' performance, that both Justin Fields and the New Jersey offense carried themselves pretty well. They did some good things. Justin did some really good things in that game. This can be true. There was nothing to apologize for coming out of that game. And what's the other one? It was NFC, right?
Vikings.
Vikings are 3-2. Vikings are 3-2 with a plus 26 points differential.
Yeah.
So this idea that the Steelers haven't played anybody or that they've gotten this, because I'm preparing you now, we're going to hear a ton of it.
Oh yeah, because
after Cincinnati.
Yeah, because once you see what's on the other side of Cincinnati, it's home against Green Bay, home against the Colts, at Los Angeles Chargers, home against the Bengals, at Chicago, home against the Bills, at the Ravens, Monday night against the Dolphins, at Detroit, at Cleveland, and then end the season home against Baltimore. There are some really tough games in there. But the Packers looked like they were going to be like runaway Super Bowl favorites after the first few games. Then they lose to the Browns, and they've been they're still a good team, but they tied with the Cowboys, and it's not been like they haven't been as dominant. The Colts, that's a phenomenal story so far. The Chargers are banged up, very banged up. They might be a little healthier by the time the Steelers play them. The Bills have lost 2 in a row and look nothing. It looks like if James Cook doesn't get 100 yards, they're not going to win.
Yeah.
Like that's what it looks like with the Bills. And by the time the Steelers play the Ravens, they're probably going to be a lot healthier. But at what point, what are the Ravens going to look like by the time the Steelers actually go to Baltimore on December 7th?
Who knows?
Because
they could be fully staffed. They could be a really, really good team, but that team that still doesn't have a chance to make the playoffs because of their hole.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because even the Ravens, their schedule lightens up. We talk about the Ravens start of their schedule, and it has been brutal. They've played some insanely good teams early on top of all of the attrition that they've dealt with. And as much as their schedule lightens up, especially over after they get back from their bye, the next 6 or 7 games are pretty they might win all but one of them. It's that kind of a schedule. But they still have to play the Patriots. They still have to play the Packers in Lambeau in late December. And they still have to play the Steelers twice. You're going to tell me the Ravens aren't going to, for the rest of the way, aren't going to lose more than 2 games? That would be a heck of a run to only lose 2 games left whenever you do look at some of the games that they still have yet to play. Because Steelers-Ravens almost always split. Yes. So it almost doesn't matter what state either team is in; they just split. So it's almost a guaranteed loss.
It's hilarious that the 2 of the Steelers' toughest games the rest of the way are going to be against a team that's currently 1-5, but they are, because it's not just Lamar. They're going to get all these guys back. They're going to get Roquan back. They're just going to be the team everybody expected would have a chance to be the best. They're going to be
fighting. It's going to be the Bengals from last year.
Yeah.
Scratching and clawing just to get to 9-8 and hope that they can get in. That'll be the Ravens, because listen, I don't think it's completely impossible for the Ravens to finish 9-8, because that's 3 losses the rest of the way. And if they get everybody healthy and they get Lamar back and they go on a run and their schedule allows them to start getting hot, they can get hot. And that's why there's still pressure. That's why when the Steelers, even if they win this game, it's not just hand them the division. No, don't hand them the division, because just because the Ravens are 1-5 now doesn't mean they're going to finish 4-13.
Bob says college versus NFL is apples and oranges. Success in college doesn't guarantee success in the NFL. In some cases, that's just because of the levels. In other cases, it's because of the style. For years and years, we saw college football quarterbacks not be able to cut it in the NFL because the 2 styles of play between the 2 levels were so different. I mean, Johnny Manziel is your screaming example of that.
Tim Tebow
for all time. Yeah, there are guys who were they were made for college football and they weren't going to advance. It's the equivalent of the 4A player in baseball to an extent. Somebody who can hit fastballs, but as soon as you get to the majors and you got to start seeing guys with the full repertoire, they flat out can't hit because they're never going to see a fastball. It's really as simple as that. It's not a matter of denigrating college football. I think the reverse is actually the case. People build up college football as if it's somehow more significant than other minor leagues in North America, and it really isn't, except in the perception sense. I'm trying to find it here. I had a really good quote. A really good comment from somebody on this one that I want to open it back up. Here it is. It's from Jordan Jarvie, who says, so if the national championship is just a minor league trophy, does that mean that all of the individual trophies in college mean nothing? Who suggested anything of the kind? The Heisman is just a silly trophy? No, but I'll tell you this right now. And you don't hear me say a whole lot of good things about anything current related to the Pirates. But if you're comparing players of a certain age and their performance and what their trophies mean, and you win the Heisman Trophy in college, great for you. It comes with the big New York dinner and the statue and the pose and all those things that are really famous. But that kid, that teenager who's in the Pirates system right now, Connor Griffin, being named minor league player of the year by everybody, I got to tell you, that puts you a lot closer to the major leagues than the Heisman Trophy does. It just does.
There have been a lot of Heisman Trophy winners or even Heisman Trophy candidates that have turned into absolutely nothing in the NFL. Being successful in the NFL goes way beyond where you played in college, how well you played in college.
If they expanded your stadium by 20,000 seats like they did for Johnny Football.
I mean, Joe Flacco is a great example here. He transferred from Pitt to Delaware and gets drafted, and he's now in his 18th NFL season and has won a Super Bowl. Like, how often does that happen?
Ben Roethlisberger plays for a school that gets mocked, as everybody does in the MAC. You know what I mean? As if, they're somehow inferior. This guy said that Jordan says, "Oh, but he played for Ohio State." Okay, and so what?
I mean, Justin Fields played for Ohio State, and right now Justin Fields is, man, I don't know if his career is going to survive what's happening in New Jersey this year. Like seriously, I really don't know.
You could do this right down the line. Look at, Lamar Jackson coming out of, was it Louisville?
Yes, Louisville. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, Louisville's a power forward school, but it's not. It's not like one of these powerhouse schools.
Conference they're in. Yeah, that doesn't mean that they're actually good. So we as a country grossly over glamorize college football relative to what it is relative to the NFL. That's the only point that I'm making here.
Yeah.
Okay. If you just never know what this stuff means here. You know, the Penguins are currently employing a goaltender who was the AHL's playoff MVP, Artur Shilovs. They won the championship of the Calder Cup in Abbotsford, British Columbia, which, by the way, is the home of Chase Claypool. And you would think, wow, this guy is just spectacular. He's awesome. That's the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy in hockey. Don't get me started on Shilovs, but I haven't been all that impressed. Okay, he looks like a minor league goaltender. And that's why I use the phrase. It's not to denigrate, college football as much as it is to point out the realities of what this is. We glamorize. Remember the nonsense about Alabama being able to beat the Browns when they were 0-16? Do you think Alabama could beat the Browns? If those Browns had played that Alabama team in that year, they would not have had enough ambulances at that stadium to carry all those college kids to the local hospital. They would have been calling triage in other hospitals because they would have been overloaded. That's actually what would have happened. But perception is perception. Narratives are narratives. James Fairfield says the Steelers of the 80s built their team from schools that no one else bothered with. Well, say what it actually is, James. They went to schools that were very heavily African American. They went to schools in the Deep South. That was the legacy, really, of Bill Nunn, the legendary scout, Bill Nunn, now rightfully in the Hall of Fame posthumously. Mr. Nunn was the one who went down there and got the John Stallworths and so forth. That was if you had a secret sauce to those teams, it was Mr. Nunn and the black colleges.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think what'll tell you usually, and it's not a perfect science because there are obviously first round busts and there are 6th round Hall of Famers, but what will usually give you a better barometer for what a player can be is where they're taken in the draft more than where they played in college. I mean, Will Howard was the quarterback of that national championship Ohio State team.
Yeah.
And he wasn't drafted until the 6th round. Meanwhile, Josh Allen played at Wyoming and was a top 10 pick. The league will tell you what it thinks of you coming out of college. Now, Of course, like I said, there are first round busts. There will never be, or there might be, but the Jamarcus Russells are not nearly as frequent as if it were just that simple of whoever the quarterback for Ohio State is every year, draft that guy. That's going to be your franchise quarterback. It's not that simple.
We have a couple of these. Browns would destroy Alabama. Browns would have destroyed Alabama. I hope it's understood what I'm saying here. I don't mean to get grizzly on you here. When I say that they would destroy that Alabama team, I am not talking just about the scoreboard. I
have to think it would be more physical than
they would
scoreboard.
Physically destroy these young men.
Yeah.
Who would not be able to withstand these much larger, meaner, more experienced men rending their limbs off of them. Am I getting gross enough? She's getting gross. That's actually what would happen. I've had this conversation with NFL players. They will attest to this.
Yeah.
That what would have happened to that Alabama team would have been so sickening that they never would have had another meeting like it. Connor here says that the people in Northeast Ohio right now think, of course they do, because they're fans. They're thinking like college fans, and they see that the networks treat the games similarly. They have the same music. They have 4 guys sitting around an oval desk, and it all looks really official. But it's not the same thing. Go ahead.
So think about this right now. Let's just use that example right there. The Browns of 2025 versus this Ohio State team. Dylan Gabriel.
Are they still good? Are they good now?
Ohio State's number 1 in the country.
Okay.
They're a really good team. Really good team. Dylan Gabriel's the Browns quarterback who literally played Ohio State twice last year and beat them once. But then on top of that, you go to the other side of the ball, and then that Ohio State team would have to deal with Myles Garrett. Would have to deal. I mean, just that alone.
One at a time as they're being carted off.
That's what I'm saying.
One at a time. Those 95-man, 105-man rosters that the colleges have? You could even let them have that.
It's just people think like you look at some of the great players, and Ohio State is going to have multiple first-round picks again. They just are. Jeremiah Smith might be the best receiver that we've seen come out of college in a while. He's phenomenal. But guys, it's an entire team, and there are a lot of guys who play for that Ohio State team right now who do not have a future in the NFL. They just don't. Meanwhile, everybody who's playing on an NFL team has a future player. Yeah, or just say they have a future in the NFL because they're in the NFL right now. Like, it's just.
Yeah, Swan says it would have been a literal slaughter. I don't know if we've taken this concept far enough here, but this would have been, wow. I mean, first of all, they'd never allow it to be done.
Right.
I mean, I don't think the NFL players would want anything to do with it just because of the damage that they would
college
do.
Kids.
Yeah. So, but it's funny how it's funny how this stuff it actually ends up taking on a life of its own here.
It's also funny because remember when TJ Watt was coming out of college, and he became a good player right away. But look at him physically. Just look at the way
he's not the same guy. I mean, he's
that he was coming out of college versus what he looks like now. He is massive compared to what he used to be before. These guys are literally yes, we talk about colleges. There are so many colleges that have a better facility than the Steelers do. Yeah, it's a lot different when you have college like strength and conditioning staffs than you have NFL strength and conditioning staffs. Even if the Steelers have one of the worst ones, it's still a transformation your body goes through because you now have all of your time and attention on getting your body ready to play in the NFL, as opposed to when you're in college, when you still have classes to go to and other things. You don't have football as your sole focus. It's not the same thing. It's not.
This is a really good question from Chad Moore. This will be the last one on the day. He says, can Cincinnati come up with any semblance of a run game? That's a good question. We've talked a lot about Flacco, a lot about the receivers, and a lot about the Bengals defense. Is the Steelers defensive line equipped to stop them given the short week? The first thing I'll say about that is I think the Steelers defensive line and the inside linebackers and everybody, and actually for that matter, the outside linebackers are going to be better equipped for the fact that they were able to get away with a legit rotation of personnel against the Browns. And when you look at the snap counts from this past week, you don't see one other than PQs that really screams out at you where you say, wow, how is that guy going to play another game Thursday? Talking to PQ, he came out of that game okay. We'll see about everybody else, but what about the Bengals and the run?
Well, they're struggling right now. I'm looking at the numbers right now. Chase Brown leads the team. He has 74 carries, and for math majors here, this number still might get you 74 carries for 202 yards.
2.7 yards per carry. The Bengals' longest run from scrimmage, their longest run from scrimmage all season is 13 yards.
Yeah.
Their average carry is 3.1. They have 2 rushing touchdowns. I don't mean to keep doing this, guys. I don't want to build you up for something here.
Yeah.
But this is part of the job, too. We'll tell you when the other team's great. Okay?
I can shoot you back. I can shoot things back down a little bit. Last year, I do remember that game in Cincinnati. I don't remember what the final numbers are. That's why I'm going to look at it. Chase Brown carried the ball 12 times for 70 yards, averaged almost 6 yards a carry. So it can happen. And it was kind of the same thing going into that. Like Chase Brown, he's an interesting runner, and the way that they do things with P. Ryan, even Mike Tomlin said in his press conference this week, he's like, the way that they like manage their running backs has their attention. Like they're paying it. It's not just all of our attention. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Tomlin's like, we're not just throwing all of our time and attention at Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Like, sure, that requires a lot, but you can't just completely ignore trying to stop the run. You still want to make the Bengals one-dimensional. But the good thing from the Steelers' perspective is the Bengals often put themselves into one-dimensional situations because they rely so much on putting the ball in the air. And it's one of the reasons why they have a negative 80-point differential, which is the worst in the NFL.
They are, get out there and take care of business. I think it's really not any more complicated than that. Guys, this will be our last double shot until Friday. Mm-hmm. We won't have one tomorrow because Chris and I will actually be commuting to Cincinnati around that time. We will, of course, have our post-game show that we will do from Paycor Stadium. After the game, it'll be up at probably around midnight for those of you late nighters. And between now and then, you only have one thing to do, and that's to download our app. You know, I can't think of anything else that you have to do off the top of my head. She thought that was funny. Anyway, he never laughs at my jokes. Like, download the DK Pittsburgh Sports app into your Apple or Android device. And from there, you'll see it. You won't like it. You'll see lots of ads. You'll be like, what the heck is this? I'm getting this out of my phone. Don't get it out of your phone. Email me, dk@dkpittsburghsports.com. Yeah, it is. No, it isn't. She says it's not that bad. Yeah, it is. Email me, dk@dkpittsburghsports.com to get a massive discount on the premium version, which is only 1,000 times better. And I'll hook you up with that. And Chris, final thoughts on Steelers versus Bengals. Final thought, I should say. One good one.
Just because the Bengals are 2-4 with the worst point differential in the NFL does not mean that this is going to be some sort of guaranteed win or almost guaranteed win for the Steelers. The Steelers have still never, ever, ever beaten an AFC North team on the road in this type of a game in which they're playing a game after they've played 4 days before. I don't think that is a thing for just on accident. They've lost to Jameis Winston in Cleveland in a snowstorm. They've lost some other games that, I mean, a wonky game against Washington in 2020 after, during the COVID year. They've lost some really, really weird games, and it would not be surprising to me if this turned into yet another weird game. Short weeks are their own thing, just like international games are kind of their own thing. Thursday night games, short week games are kind of outliers. They're kind of, the way Mike Tomlin put them, they're irregular. So yeah, I don't think that this is going, again, I think if this is a straight up Sunday to Sunday thing and the Steelers have a full week to prepare, I think the Steelers, I won't say steamroll them, but win. Just win. This one, I'm not as confident. I think I'm still going to pick the Steelers to win, but just be prepared if the Steelers lose this game. I don't think it's necessarily
this game.
I don't think it's an indictment on the Steelers.
I want to see 30 points. I don't see anything that can go wrong if the Steelers put up 30 points. I also see that the Steelers, to me, that would be a check all the boxes thing, because you would see the offense continue to progress. You would see a really an extension of this last game against Cleveland, in the sense that you would still be throwing downfield. You would still be getting a good amount out of your running game, out of play action, out of all that stuff that makes the team work. Get Mason Rudolph in there in the fourth quarter. How's that? How's that? All right, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow night from Cincinnati. Go get the app. We don't ask that much of you. Go get the app. See you tomorrow.